Okay, so another common question that students have when they're learning to develop for the web is how can you do something really useful with the DOM? So, okay, it's fine just to get elements by ID, but what about if you want to generate like a really nice bit of UI on your web page and you want to keep generating it however many times you have data for example. So I'm assuming you understand a little bit about programming. And if you don't, you can look at some other videos on my channel about that. It's like look for one about arrays or just do a quick Google. But I'm going to assume you understand what arrays are. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have an array of data. And we're going to loop through that and display that in our Java, in our website. So I'm going to create a new example, index.html. And the link for this article is in the link below, as is the code on GitHub, which I push so you can see all the samples. So we're going to take, just go and copy this in. You can do this with me as I do the video. So we've got this simple web page called looping the DOM, and or loop demo. And we've got one div element ID with item list, right? And then we've got this fairly complicated piece of code that I will talk through. So you can see here, we've got this element here. So let's create a JavaScript file. So I'm going to call this script.js. And this script, instead of loading it in the body, we're going to load it after the body, so it's loaded within time. So then I'm going to go to the script and I'm going to put this line in here. And I'm going to, so you can sort of see everything I'm doing. I'm just going to move that site up there. So we'll make the page nice and big. And then I've got, here we go. So basically, when the website is loaded, that's what this is doing. It's looking at the DOM and it's saying when it's loaded, we need to do some extra display things. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an array of items. And so this is it. It's constant, which means it's unchangeable. We can't change the value of it. Then we have items, the name of our array, and then we have the square bracket, which indicates an array. And in each element of the array, we have something called a dictionary. A dictionary works with keys and then values. So here, the first item has a key name, and it's item 1. It has the key for the key description. It has description of item 1. So this could be anything, as I'm going to get you to do in the example. It could be a list of books. It could be more complex data. It could be a list of items in a web shop that you want to display on a page. So this is just our sort of dummy bit of data, an array. And then what we want to do is we're going to, so I copied and pasted that in because it's quicker in the video. I've prepared this before. So we're going to take this item list and using the document object model, we're going to get element by ID, and then we're going to get the item list. So we've got the div now, and then what we're going to do is we're going to loop through this array. So let's put a comment here. So we're going to loop through each item and append it to the div. So we're going to loop through each item and append it to the div. How are we going to do this? We're going to use a for each loop. So a for loop is a way of looping through code, going over the same number of lines again and again and again. And every time we repeat it, we're going to use JavaScript to add in, we're going to add in we're going to add in more HTML so that we can display this information, right? So how do we do that? Right, so we've got items, which is our array. Now, because it's an array, it will have a for each loop. And then we have a function, and for each element in the array, we're going to store it in a variable called item, like that. And this is our loop. So every time we go around it, the first element is going to be that, and it's going to be stored in item. The second element is going to be that, it's going to be stored in item, and so on and so on. Then we're going to create a new element, a new div element for every loop. And then we're going to add to this item element, we're gonna add a class name. That's so that maybe later on you want to put in some nice styling in CSS for it to make it look a bit better. And then what we're going to do, we are going to create a paragraph, and we're going to insert the name into that paragraph. So using name paragraph, we're going to get the text content, and we're going to set the name, and then we need the dollar, and then we're going to insert item.name into here, item.name. So that should color it perhaps slightly differently. So this was basically getting, for each item, we're going to get the name, and then we're going to insert that variable name in here. So that's going to be the name of that first paragraph. And then we're going to append that. We're going to append our item div with this name paragraph. And then we want to get the description as well. So we're going to create another P element in here, like this. We're going to call it description paragraph. And then we're going to set the text content of that to be description, but insert, yes, I'm using the wrong, you've got to use the right brackets, and then you see it colors it like this, and then you know that it's a variable, it's not just a string, we're inserting a variable into that string. So, and then I'm going to set the text content to be description, and then item, so the current item, dot description. And it's going, and then we need to append that to our item div, and then with the finally we're going to append this whole item div element to our item list, which is what we got up here. So however many elements we've got in this array, this code is going to loop over it, and it's going to create another div inside of that, give it a class name item in case we want to style it, and it's going to create two paragraph elements, one for name and one for description, and it's going to insert in the data for that current item, the name and the description, and then it's going to append the description paragraph, and the very last thing it'll do, it will add that whole new div in there. So you'll get like a load of divs appearing on the page. So if I save that, and then I go back to, let's go to Reveal in Explorer, and I open up the web page like this, you can see it's printed several elements out like that. And if I add in more stuff here, like that, like 4, save that, oh, make that 4, save that, go back to, that's our old one, go back to here, and it prints 4. Okay. So notice I said, oh yeah, and if we go back to the code and we inspect it, so we look at our page source, we can actually see, I think we need to inspect it because it's been generated at runtime. So we can actually see if we open this up, that what it's done here, what this JavaScript has done here. It's created 4 div items, paragraphs, and each of these div items has a class item, which is going to come in handy now because although okay, cool, it's functional, it looks a bit rubbish. So what we could do is let's include a style sheet on our index. So we'll put that in the header up there. And then I'm going to add to looping DOM, I'm going to add styles.css. And I'm going to add in a styling that I prepared earlier for item where we're going to have, like for each one of those divs, we're going to have a solid border with some padding and a margin at the bottom. So this is going to improve the look of it just a little bit. Refresh that. There you go. So here we've created 4 separate cards that we're looping over in the JavaScript to manipulate the DOM to generate this, this code at runtime, and then we're styling it nicely with a little bit of CSS. Right, so I will push this to the GitHub repository and you can see the examples of the code. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. But what I want you to do now is to get this sample working and then answer these questions again. So for example, what does document.addEventListener, what does that do? How does the items for each function loop work? So what's it doing? How is it iterating through it? What values are in the item? So answer some of these questions about that code so you understand what I've done, and then do this exercise. So what is the exercise? Objective, you want to create a simple web page that displays a list of books, including the book title, author, and brief description. You'll need to modify the existing code to accommodate the new structure. So you're going to need to change, to find the data array, you're going to need to change the array in here. You're going to need to change this. And you're going to need to change that into an array of books. And you're going to have not just items, like item name and description, but you're going to have like this, basically. Here's a sample of the data. You're going to have 3 keys, title, author, and description. Then you're going to need to modify the JavaScript. You need to update the for each loop to generate the content, but this time getting it out of your new book array. So you need to change some of the keys that you're accessing. So which ones are you going to have to change? It will really help you understand the code this way. And then maybe you could find some better styling. Maybe you could find some like really super cool styling for like a card display, however you want. So yeah, here's a sample and good luck. And if you have any questions about this, put this in the comments below.